So in 1937, George Gallup, it was estimated to be 1937, started doing approval ratings for the presidents. So, guess, I'm not going to let you look at my phone.
Okay.
What was the highest approval rating of any president since they started doing that? Gallup approval ratings.
Gallup approval ratings. Based on, and I've only recently started even knowing what those are. I would say 80%.
It's actually a little higher than that.
Really?
87%. That is the absolute highest approval rating any president's got. And it was in 1945.
Okay.
Truman had, he was 3 months as vice president before FDR died.
Okay.
And he took over the presidency. And that was the highest approval rating any president has ever achieved.
Wow.
Didn't end that way. But the point, though, is if 87% of the population approved, what about the other 13%?
That's a good question.
So this is Jean-Paul. I'm Royse. We're talking about leadership. And today we're specifically talking about looking like an idiot.
Looking like an idiot. Any experience with that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think everybody's experienced that moment of going like, oh my gosh, I look like such an idiot right now.
Yeah, I think that's half the reason that none of us would go back to junior high.
The big secret is everybody looks like an idiot.
Right. No, specifically, we want to address how this applies to leadership is that as a leader, to lead in anything, in any situation, you've got to be willing to look like an idiot.
I would actually say that is probably the first and probably most important aspect of leadership. If you're not willing to look stupid, you're going to make decisions based on what everybody else thinks you should do. Now,
Exactly.
like you were talking about earlier, is that a leader serves all of those individuals, but they don't always make the decision that everybody's going to approve of or the most people are going to approve of because they need to do what is right. Most often, you're going to have people that are pretty upset about it.
Exactly. Yeah, I've heard things said over the years. If nobody's mad at you, you're not accomplishing anything. Things to that effect. A lot of different ways that's been said. And I can definitely look back on my life and go, there are definitely times where I could have stepped up, but man, I didn't want to look like an idiot, and so I stepped back.
So I wish I could remember who it was, but there was this trainer, this leadership coach, and the very first thing that he would do is he would take all of his students to the mall. And this was back when malls were extremely popular, actually,
Right.
and it wasn't like today.
Right, where they're like ghost towns.
Yeah, you go to our local mall and there's nobody there, so this wouldn't be an issue. But he would have them lay down in the middle of the mall for like an extended period of time, an hour or something like that, and literally just lay there.
Interesting.
The whole point, being you're going to feel like an ass sometimes. You're going to feel like you're an idiot. You're going to be told you're a moron.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to leadership, and a lot of us don't realize ways that we are acting in leadership, or we wouldn't look at certain things that we see people doing and realize that it's leadership. But essentially, you are stepping out ahead of others. You're stepping away from the safety of the crowd. Mm-hmm. You are making decisions and choices to do something different, whether or not other people approve. And often, it's going to be an opportunity to choose something that gets the approval of those necessary. But rarely, if ever, will everybody approve.
Yeah, and when those people don't approve, they're typically the loudest, most obnoxious people.
So you're going to know it.
Yeah, and you often feel like, when you do make a mistake, you often feel like everybody thinks you're an idiot, or everybody disapproves because those loud people they're right in your face.
That's that classic junior high thing, right? You think everybody's looking at you, when in reality, the majority of them are just looking at themselves.
That's the secret, right there.
Exactly.
Just like junior high. Everybody's embarrassed. Everybody feels like they're the odd one out. Everybody feels like they're the idiot. As a matter of fact, in construction, some of the most, the crustiest, old, nasty, just meanest people that you'll ever meet in construction are generally, in my opinion, the most insecure and the ones that have potentially just beat themselves into oblivion. And so in order to make them feel better about, what they do and who they are and the decisions they've made and why they're not the boss and you are, they're going to tear the crap out of you.
Yeah.
Just the way it is.
Yeah, well, you mentioned earlier how, as a leader, you're actually serving others. And, what kind of a person do you want to spend time with or be around? Is it the person that is that crusty old guy making excuses and blaming everything on everyone else? Or is it the person that has a good sense of humor about themselves, is willing to be humble and to look like an idiot sometimes, but you can relate to them a lot better most of the time?
Simple concept, but I think one of the biggest ones. So, ultimately, get over yourself.
Right.
We talk about pride a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We think of pride as this, this big, arrogant person, just like, oh, I'm amazing. Well, I think oftentimes pride is the exact opposite, where it's just, oh, I don't want to step out. I don't want anybody to see me.
Sure. That's a great point. Yep. Self-focus. Exactly. So I would recap that with, one, you got to get over yourself to start, even to start leading in anything. Big role, big decision, small decision. And then that second one that we talked about, you mentioned it right off. If you're worried about what everybody else is going to think instead of what's going to be best, you're not going to make great decisions.
Yep. All right. Have a fantastic week. See you next week.